I recently built up this beautiful mining village to hold all of the stone I have in this world, which ever since the massive river project, it's been quite a lot. But I am on a journey to organize my entire world while also expanding. So today I'm taking one of my oldest projects, improving upon it, and expanding it into a new and improved farming village. And a lumber mill with wood storage, because I didn't mention that. I failed to mention that. This is one of the first builds that I ever did in this world, and it's honestly one of my favorites. I think this is a pretty good build. Now, everything down here, I kind of hate. I really hate everything in here. This is terrible. I'm going to remove this. And same thing goes for this. I do not like this whatsoever. I haven't touched this part of the world in hundreds of days for some reason, and since then my build style has greatly developed, so it is finally time to revisit one of my earliest projects. And I've recently updated my world to 1.21.5, which means I get access to all of the new blocks, which means I'm going to fly out into the middle of nowhere and try to find a space that actually has all of the new blocks. I mean, he has nice little horns. He has little horns on him. And the guy has a personality to him, too. As someone who likes terraforming in Minecraft, these new blocks are just so cool. I love them so much. Oh my god, did not mean to get up in your face like that. I got a little lucky and had leaf litter and wildflowers right next to each other, but I'm on a search for every single new block. Now, there should be a desert over here somewhere, and I think the dry grass should spawn in the desert. But oh my god, the new pigs. The new pigs. Oh yeah, and there's some wild camels. Now, I don't know if I can use my hoe to silk touch this stuff. Oh, I can. Perfect. Oh my god, I finally found it. The bush. Oh, this is going to be one of my favorite things to use in this game. And I'm just going to collect a few more of these. I don't really have much in my inventory, but I should just be able to bone meal it and automatically farm this stuff. So it's time to go back home. This is a pretty long way to travel back. Now that I'm back home and I have all of the new blocks and materials in this update, I have to figure out a way to automatically farm them. I know nothing about redstone, so I built what is probably the dumbest machine ever made in this game. I don't know how this works, but it does. I figured it out. So to turn the farm on and off, you actually just need to do this one. Somehow this works. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this one out. It's working, but it's not good. This is not good redstone that I'm doing right now. This is really bad, actually. It's extremely loud. I'll give it that. Extremely loud. So I blew my eardrums out for long enough to give me all the materials I would need for today's episode. I definitely need a more efficient method of farming these, but this works for now. But now that that's done, it's time to start collecting the bulk of the materials for this project. So it's time to punish this forest for being here. And I'll see you guys in like 10 hours, I think. Because I plan on making over 20 custom trees today, and for that I need thousands of spruce planks to craft down the fences I need. Not only that, but I also need 1,200 spruce trapdoors. There's one thing I need a lot of that I don't have, and that's tough. I've been using a lot of tough recently, and it's kind of hard to find. And one way I know how to find it is actually to go down here. And this might honestly be a terrible mistake. Let me try to find like a safe spot to land. I'm actually like terrified. Well, I see a ton of tough, but I don't think it's really manageable. Yeah, you know what? I think this might have been a mistake. I don't think it's gonna be good to find tough down here. Maybe over here. Hey, there's actually some tough down here. Oh my god, that is actually crazy. How many creepers there is right there? He just took them all out. That's so funny. Owie. Well, yeah, I mean, there is a pretty good amount of tough down here. I need so much of this stuff. I hate how good tough looks because it is so tough to find. I usually rely on a strip mine I have, but you can mine in a straight line for 2 hours and not see a single tough block. So flying down into the underworld was my best bet to find these patches of tough on the floor. So after a little mining session, I have a full shulker box and a little extra of tough. But while I'm in here, I kind of have the bright idea of trying to steal a chest or two from the warden. Just gotta be careful. Wasn't very careful. So scary down here. It is so scary. Okay. Swift sneak. So much swift sneak. That's actually crazy how many swift sneak books there are. That's actually very helpful. First chest I got swift sneak. I'll take it. I'm just gonna leave. Eventually I'll loot that. Comment below if you want me to loot the whole thing, and maybe I'll do it. So I'm actually gonna go to the blacksmith, and I might put it on my leggings right now. 19 levels. And now we have Swift Sneak. That's going to help out so much with building. Over 1,000 days. And I just now got Swift Sneak. This angle feels really creepy. After being a very brave soldier and clearing out a huge portion of the ancient city and taking a nap, I headed on over to the mangrove swamp to collect mud, as every single custom oak tree I'm building today takes multiple stacks of mud brick walls. Thankfully, there's an entire mangrove biome in order for us to take it down so we can get some walls, and took down an entire oak forest because, well, for every 6 oak trees I take down, I'm going to replant one of them back in this episode, which is obviously super sustainable. But all jokes aside, the material gathering process mostly consists of wood materials and the basic stone materials, many of which we already have left over from the last episode. But one thing I do want to try and get is some pale moss. And I know I have some pale moss in the storage room down here. I have a decent amount in here. This is not going to be enough. I want to actually put this in the moss farm I made last episode so I can just collect so much of it at once. So let me see. I think all I really have to do is replace the moss block in the center right here with pale moss and then run the farm. And yeah, we're already getting a decent amount of pale moss in here. Just gonna let this run for a little bit. While I have that farm running, there actually is one automatic farm I want to make in this episode. And for this farm, I'm gonna need a few materials, and luckily I have this shulker box right here for some reason with a decent amount of the materials that I'm gonna need. And the last thing I need for this automatic farm is some bone meal, and I have 64 bone blocks in here. And that's about it. Now it's time to head over into a flower forest biome because I want to build an automatic tulip farm. And there it is, the flower forest biome. I have to find a place that has white tulips and then build it there. And this looks like a pretty good spot. Now I think I would actually like to choose an area that's a little bit flatter to build the farm though. So let me just look around to find a good spot. Right here looks pretty good. And now I just have to flatten this area out a little bit. Now with that space cleared out, it's time to start building this tulip farm, which is really only used for one single field in this episode, but will give me all of the tulips I will ever need. You can just power the farm with a lever right here. Nope. Ah, I think it's actually 1 block too short. That is so trippy looking. Oh my god. I loaded up the farm with some bone meal and ran the farm for a little bit because who doesn't love flowers? I mean, if you don't like flowers, I do not trust you. This is a great farm and should give me all the flowers I need. Then I headed over to the acacia biome to get some acacia. I don't know why I called it an acacia biome. It's a savanna biome. I headed over there because I needed the logs for building and leaves for some trees. Look out, man. There's a storm coming, dude. There is a storm not even coming. It's just here. All right. And you guys are worried about me? Look at the storm. Man, it's like Dune out here. You guys are worried about the wrong thing. Can't even see. But I'm just out here collecting a ton of acacia wood. Just my favorite thing to do. The final block I needed was some copper, so I headed back over to the trial chamber, which is just my favorite place to be. Wow, I mean, that is awful, dude. I mean, does that thing even have good enchants? Oh my god, that's bad. That is so bad. Get out of my face. You know what? I'm done. I'm getting out. I think I've done enough. Guys, this actually just got me. I fell all the way from up there onto the dripstone. I don't know how I didn't die. Now I finally feel like I can dive into building, but actually I'm not going to be building anything yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy. And I'm going to destroy right what is in front of me. And that is this thing that I built that I don't like at all. I don't like this whatsoever. I've recently come to the realization that I just hate a lot of the old things I've built in this world. A lot of that has to do with the lack of creative planning I spent on these areas, and also I've just become a better builder. But in general, I just absolutely hate this part of the world. It's almost like it was never there, like it never existed in the first place. And yeah, the area definitely feels a little bit empty, but that's gonna be changed in just a second. But I want to remove this first. It's an eyesore. It's been here for hundreds of days, and you know what? Sometimes I feel like I've just seen it for so long that I don't even acknowledge it. Like my brain doesn't even process that it's here still. It looks a lot better now, and that took all of 5 seconds. So I don't know why I didn't do that much sooner, but it's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. I need help. And I definitely... Oh my god. Why am I even going in the library with my rails? It's gonna look way nicer though once I get started on the new horse stables. I am starting these new and improved horse stables by laying out the foundation, which uses tough, pale moss, and a mix of lighter tones like andesite, cobblestone, and mossy cobblestone. Of course, creating a good amount of space for some horse stables, I created a smaller section there in front and started in the second level of the build, which uses a mix of oak, birch, pale oak, mushroom blocks, and some sandstones, and of course copper grate windows going around the entire build. And instead of continuing up with this texturing, I'm actually going to go up with some mangrove and some oak wood, and I'm going to leave a space here for a little window. So I'm going to continue going up with some of that mangrove and oak wood, but I'm actually going to transition into some stripped dark oak wood up at the top like this. And now we have something like this for the build, and I think it's coming together quite nicely. But something I do want to do to add a little bit of separation between these different block palettes is I want to use some spruce signs, because I want to wrap a spruce sign trim around the entire build going this way, and it looks a little bit like that, and I think it just makes the build look so much better. I wrapped signs around the rest of the build along with some other details. Now it's just time to add in the roof. And for this, I want to grab some of the spruce stairs we have, some of the exposed cut copper stairs, brick stairs, jungle stairs, and some of the mud brick stairs on top of that. So I'm going to first use some of the brick stairs and granite stairs that we have, and this will go around the entire base of it, continuing up with that granite before I go into that copper. And I'm also going to mix in some of the jungle as well, and the jungle will transition up into some spruce here at the top. We now have the horse stable building in with the roof on top of it. But I actually want to go around the back here and add in a little shed right here. So I want to first go around with a tough base that goes up to this level right here. And actually, I think I want to carry it up just one more block going around like that. And I want to go through and add in these beehives for the base. And now I want to go around with some of the sandstone and birch that we used up here for a little bit of a lighter tone. And now we have a little shed in here that's attached to some extra stables. And I think this build is looking pretty nice now. Now all I need to do is add in some smaller little details. I first want to remove the grass in the actual horse stables and replace it with some of the coarse dirt that we have. And I wanted to use some of the rooted dirt with some short dry grass in there, almost as if there's some wheat like spilling out of this barrel. I don't know. But I want to mix in some actual hay bales right here with some of the short dry grass sprinkled around in here as well. Pretty small details, but I like it. And then to add a little bit more support or fortification to these horse stables, I wanted to go around with some iron bars around the edges like that, which kind of encloses them into their own space more. I've been experimenting a lot with signs, and they just add that little bit of extra depth to builds that looks so nice. But something I did want to try to do is add in some light gray candles on top of these. And again, like the little details using candles and signs, it just all in the end goes such a long way in terms of making a build look complete. So I can get my horse. I don't remember where my horse is. Did he like wander off? He can have a better home than this barn that doesn't have any animals in it. And I'm going to put him in this stable because it's open. It's going to be easier to get in and out. And I definitely want to add in another horse. Well, he's decided he likes the other place. The other stable. Okay. Well, since he likes this stable so much, I can add in a little bit of detail in here. Oh my god. What is happening? Also, I have had this horse for so long and he doesn't have a name. So leave some comments down below for what I should name the horse, because he's just nameless. He's been nameless forever. After observing my super athletic horse, I wanted to add a small wheat field on the right side of the build, and I figured since I updated my game to 1.20 1.5, I could also use some of the new dry grass blocks to look like wheat. Also jumping to the front of the build to add in a little pine tree. And now these stables are looking so much better than what they did before. These stables actually are decorated. The house doesn't look like garbage, and it even has a little bit of character here in the back with a jumping horse through the window. I did add in this wheat field right here using the dry grass and the short dry grass, and I think it looks really, really cool. But I've noticed this wall right here is pretty empty, so I want to actually go through and add in maybe a couple windows. But now with this build complete, I think the only thing that would make this space look better is a big custom oak tree right here. This one custom oak tree didn't make me go insane, but trust me, by the end of this episode, there will be so many of these, I had no other choice but to lose my mind. But what didn't make me lose my mind is picking potatoes and replacing this old potato field with a new and improved white tulip field. Also, with the snap of my fingers removing this old potato field, I don't have anything against potatoes, there's just too many of them, so I started replacing the farmland with coarse dirt and using that dry grass for another variety of wheat field, which on a large scale looks so cool. I also replaced these other potatoes right here with even more wheat while creating another patch of farmland for some of the new bushes and yet another patch of farmland for a beetroot field, finally finishing off this area with a custom oak tree. Now we have another custom tree in, and I've extended the farmland back here quite a lot, and this took me forever to do. But you know what? I think it looks a little bit better. I think extending the farmland just makes this area seem a lot bigger. And this is an empty patch of farmland because I am trying to grow some beetroot. The next thing I want to do though is remove this. I absolutely hate this. This looks so bad. So obviously the best course of action is to remove it and start on a new building. And for these houses, I want to go around with some of the same texturing we used on the other house, which is just some of the mossy cobblestone and tuff. Also mixing in a little bit of that acacia wood as well. And then I want to go up and add some of that deep slate for some even darker tones like that. I do want to leave some space for a little doorway right here, so I'm going to go up with some of the spruce trap doors, and then I want to go up continuing with some of that same texturing. Now with the base in, I want to add a little staircase right here, and I want to give the people who live here a little way to get up to this level, and then have the actual house area be up here. So there's a little staircase that goes around the side of the house, and I'm just going to fill in this gap with some more tuff. And now for the second level here, I want to work up with an oak trim, and then it's going to go through with some of the stripped oak and oak planks on the bottom. And then I want to slowly go up to some birchwood and also mix in, of course, some copper grate windows, because what other window design would I be using for a build? So now I have something like that for this side, and I think I can go through and mix in a little bit more birch like that. Now it's just time to go through around the rest of the build, adding in the oak and birch with some more windows and details, of course, before slapping on a roof. I've also went through and added some details to the outside with these like feeder things, or maybe just some storage, and also added in some storage on the bottom of it as well. And this cool little like overhang balcony type thing for the door, and I think it looks super cool. But I do have a pretty cool design for a chimney that I want to try out. I'm going to need a block of mud, I'm going to need some iron, and a chest, because I want to make a hopper. And I also want to grab a flower pot. For this chimney, I want to go up from deep slate to mud to deep slate tiles for a slight gradient. And I want to use some more spruce signs around the chimney. And then I actually want to use a hopper with a flower pot on top of it for the actual chimney design. And I think it looks pretty nice. So now with this building done, I want to add the exact same building right over here. So I copy and pasted a near identical building right next door. There is one thing about this house that I want to change, and that is the balcony in the front. I want to do something pretty unique here with some lightning rods, but I want it to be facing like that, and then I want to break this one and have it facing up so it kind of connects at the bottom here perfectly with the fence, and then up at the top here. Now I want to use some campfires going around with some trapdoors and some spruce slabs. And let me see what it looks like from a little distance, and I think that looks pretty nice. In fact, I think I want to come in here and add in another slab, probably over here, just for a little bit more texture. And boom, I added the lower section. I don't know if I'm going to put anything in here yet. And this area used to be a vineyard. I still want to keep it one, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do something a little bit different from what I did last time to make it look a lot better. Now for this vineyard, I want to do something a little bit different from what I did before, but also something very similar. And I want to go through with some fences and fence gates up to here. And then on every single fence, I want to add another one on top of it with a brown candle like that. And what I'm going to go through and do is add in some flowering azaleas and some normal azalea leaves like that. And these could be grapes on the vine, and it'll just be going around in a pretty big field here. So I've upgraded the horse stables, the vineyard buildings, and now there is a brand new vineyard, which I think looks so much better. Knowing where we were before with this village, I think it's looking so much better now. But don't worry, I don't plan on breaking every old thing I don't like in this world. just the ones in this episode. I've already spent so much time this episode going over things I'm fixing with this area, so I want to speed up the process because I have much bigger plans for this episode. So I built up a new farmhouse where the old sheep field was to add a little bit more life in an area that was pretty empty. But don't worry, I kept the sheep there just with a better looking home and added in a couple custom trees. And then I replaced this empty patch of grass with a brand new flower field, and it's looking so much better. I also made a wagon. You can't forget the wagon. But now it's time to work away from the farming village and instead go by the river edge where I want to build a lumber mill. But I cannot get too carried away yet because I have to first connect the river to the rest of the world with a simple coarse dirt road. Where I need a bridge to get across the river here, as there's no way of getting across, and this guy wants across. This bridge uses all of your basic gray stone blocks with some added mossy cobblestone and deep slate for the base. I wanted to build a bridge that has multiple archways and a support beam in the middle. Building a bridge was something that I was excited ever since I started the river project, and now we finally have another one to connect the other side. Now with a bridge we can walk across. I can now get started on the lumber mill for all of the wood storage in this world. I first want to start by creating the base for the actual mill, which will be where the people in this world get all of their wood chopped down for building, as I've been wanting to create more realistic professions with buildings in my world. Right now I need to give whoever runs this mill a place to work, so I'm giving them a big platform for them to work on. But they don't want to be in the sun all day, so I also need to add in a roof over top. For this I want to grab some spruce, some oak wood, and a little bit more spruce as well. And I want to use some of these exposed cut copper slabs to mix in. I first want to go up with some spruce, oak, and mangrove for a pillar, and then I want to do that again on this side. And then I want to connect these with some spruce stairs and slabs. So it'll go something like that, and that prevents people from falling off. To get started on the roof, I'm using the cut copper to act as a stronger support block, using spruce for a trim underneath it. And now I want to bring in some spruce slabs like that, and on every single pillar I want to do the cut copper. And then in between them I want to use spruce trapdoors, and I want to use the barrels following a similar pattern. I think in the end it just looks like these strips of the roof have a little bit more support to them. And boom, now we have this section of the roof and building done. Now it's time to decorate the inside of it. I was thinking for the middle here I'll use campfires facing this way, and then a trapdoor here, a trapdoor here, and then I want to kind of close this off with some signs, so it looks like a log can sit on top of this. And now in the middle here, I want to add a blade, and I want to use a chain on the end, and then I want to use some iron bars that go up like that, and it will cut some wood in half. For this side, I want to connect it to the roof using some spruce fence gates, and then a spruce fence that goes down and connects to the bottom with a mud brick wall. And then I want it to connect in the middle here with a mud brick wall that'll connect to this blade that will be attached to the ceiling or something like this. And this will be a little contraption that will power this from the water wheel that'll be right here in a second. But right here, I wanted to make it look like there was a wheel, so I want to use some oak trapdoors around it like this, so it'll look like that can spin, and maybe, you know, that spinning will somehow power this. I don't know. I'm kind of just making it look like it works. I have no idea how actually this would work in theory, but I think it'll look like it'll work. I don't know. I wanted to build a bigger wheel on the left side of the mill as maybe a way for the machine to generate a little bit more power. And now with some extra details here with some log storage on this side and this side, it's pretty much complete in here. The only thing left is to figure out the problem of, well, how is this thing getting powered? And that is the water wheel that'll sit right here along the river edge. And this is not super complicated. I'm going to use fences and walls. So I'm going to start off with a fence gate and a couple of mud brick walls. And then I want to see if I can get that sideways barrel texture. I cannot. And then while I'm down here, I'll add a spruce trapdoor along it like that. And then for a little bit of support, I want to use some andesite. And then to get an angle, I want to use a spruce stair that faces this way with a spruce trapdoor and a spruce plank attached to it. And it gives it an angle like that. And that'll be attached to another plank like that. And then a couple more walls, and that'll attach up to a fence in the middle there. And that is a quarter of the wheel already completed. All I had to do was use the same idea 3 more times for a full circle, but I also wanted to add another wheel behind it to make it look more realistic. There is one very small detail I want to add to this, because I want some polished black stone buttons. Do not have any at all. The good thing is I don't need much of this stuff. And it's just gonna go around the edges right here if I can reach. Like that. All that for 12 buttons to be placed. But you know what? I think it actually makes a pretty big difference on the build, so I don't mind the little exploration I did just to find some buttons. While I built a base for the lumber mill, I wanted to talk about how amazing the support on the channel has been, as I've hit 20,000 subscribers while recording this video. So if you're not already subscribed, why not help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers? Before I can get started on the second level of the build, I need 74 beehives. 74, that's over a stack. Which means I just need to get as much honeycomb as I possibly can grab right now, and then make as many beehives as I can. So let me just use some of these jungle logs and make a ton of beehives. I want to have the second level go up by a block, so I'm going to use the logs with some trapdoors every 3 blocks or so. And now I'm just going to go up with some of the oak and mangrove logs, and also a little bit of stripped dark oak as well. And then in between every single one of these, I want to put the beehives. And instead of mixing in some oak and birch for this bottom section, I want to mix in some jungle and some oak. On this side, I'm going to start with some oak planks on here, and then go up with the stripped jungle wood. And then I want to put scaffolding behind these windows, and it gives off a very cool effect when you have it that one layer in. I also wanted to put a big open window design in the middle of the build using fences and trapdoors, building up the rest of the walls with oak and jungle while continuing the mangrove and dark oak for the trim, and finally topping it all off with some lighter tones using some birch wood. Now it's just time to continue this for the entire top section. This build ended up being a very similar design to my starter barn, and the only difference is this looks way better, as I found my build style and skills have increased so much since I started doing this world that I ball up my fist in anger whenever I look at my old builds. But with that done, all there is left to do is the roof. And this roof will just be a transition up from the dark deep slate tile texture, and it'll go up to the deep slate bricks and the cobble deep slate stairs. I think the mix of deep slate for the roof ends up being my favorite roof design, as I found myself enjoying mixing all these dark tones together for builds recently. But with the roof design in, I of course added in a chimney and a lift in the front for them to get wood up and down for more storage. Well, I wanted to talk about what I was going to build here, but these guys just decided to show up out of nowhere. Well, now I can talk about what I want to do here. I want to create just an extra space for more log storage that has like a little canopy over it. So what I want to do is first go up with a bunch of mud brick walls, and it won't go up too high, it'll just go up to here, and I'll do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to go up with some spruce slabs over top of what I'm doing now. And then I want to go up with some spruce trapdoors and slabs across the entire thing, and this will just give it a very gradual slope, which is what I want. Now that I have this roof over top, what I want to do is do what I did last episode with some barrels and some signs. And if you use the signs like this time I'm using oak signs because I think it just looks so much better. I'll put spruce slabs over top of the barrels, and then some oak trapdoors over top of the oak signs. And I still love the way this looks, and I think it looks so much better with the oak sign because this is super dark and it almost blends in, and it just is such a cool way of creating a railing, and I'm going to use this so much. Now we have some log storage. I added in some jungle wood here just to make it look like they're also collecting some different types of wood. Maybe this one came from very far away because obviously there's no jungles nearby. But now all there really is left to do is the interior here, and also a door. I first replaced the door with some basalt and deep slate blocks before adding in some archways using some tuff and spruce. And now finally for the chest room, I just added some wood in for the floor with some more of those spruce archways. Sadly, I don't have enough chests to fill up the entire space, but I figured I could do a little tour here. I added in a kitchen here to the right because there's a chimney, so why not add a little kitchen? And I added in some log storage right here, nothing special, just some campfires and beehives. And the rest of the space is not too special, there's just more storage, more barrel storage right there, and I did fill up this room with chests. There's some barrels here on these sides. There's one section that could use a little bit more work, and that's up here. I don't know what to do up here, so if you have any ideas for what can be done up here, definitely let me know. I have the mill completed, but I want to create a house here along the river edge for whoever runs the mill to live in, as again, like I mentioned earlier, adding in that little bit of lore and spaces as to who runs the mill or why it's here, I think is important for making a space that feels realistic. But this house is not anything special, more so a home for one guy to live in. He might be lonely, all he cares about is his lumber, I don't know. But I actually am creating an interior for it. I already started to work on the kitchen here. I don't know, adding a little sink that's empty. The guy doesn't have any water. He didn't pay his bill. But I do have some really cool ideas for in here. Now, the first thing is I'm going to create a little table right here, and I want to put some plants on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some flower pots in there for now, and it'll be cool because you can see it through the window right here. On these barrels though, I'm going to put a bunch of signs to make them look like some shelves or cabinets. And then I do have a really cool idea for a floor design using some dead coral fans and some pale moss carpets. So I'm going to use the pale moss carpet as the actual carpet, but if you put these on the edges of it, it connects on the bottom without you actually putting a carpet block there. I mean, it even goes underneath the table here. It just looks so cool. I don't know. I think I'm going to continue doing this. With the interior done, I also spent some time changing the way the exterior looks, and I do like it a lot more now. I added in a small wheat field using the dry grass and began working on a small diagonal house here along the river edge, using the tough pale moss and mossy cobblestone as a base while going up with all of the other wood blocks I've already used in this area. Adding in the chimney and going up with some warmer tones for the roof, finally framing the build with some signs and adding extra details to the back, and I got a little carried away with some custom oak trees. And I was thinking, right here we have this empty space. I'm going to remove this grass that I just put here, and I want to put a little planter here on the edge with some potatoes. And I can even add another one right here. Now we have like a little planter here on the edge of the house, which I think looks kind of cool. And then actually something I could do here is maybe put in some wild potatoes around the tree. But I want to see what those look like when they are fully grown. And I think it'll look pretty cool in here just for some little detail. But yeah, I've built up a ton of custom trees. This diagonal house, I think, is home to the skeleton, I guess. I was going to say, this is probably my best diagonal, but as you go around the back of the house, they have a space up here where they can hang some clothes. I used some hanging signs and they're attached to here, and I even added a diagonal chimney. There is one thing I need to add over here though, and that is another field. And there we have a smaller flower field using the alliums. And with all of that in, I actually want to start on a fishing house right here. Because there's a river right here, and I have not created any lore around where these people get their food, and I think this will be a perfect spot to do that. And for this building, I want to use some of the dead fire coral. For this house, I want to do something similar to what we've been doing in this region already, and that is working with the mossy cobblestone and the tough, and then adding in that reddish orange looking chimney with the granite or brick. So I'm just going to continue going around with the tough and mossy bits, and also some of that cobblestone and fire coral as well, until I get the basic shape of the house. I really haven't had much experience building on diagonals, but this episode I really wanted to get out of my comfort zone with the build types and the diagonal builds. I think I found a pretty good strategy for making them, so I love the diagonal builds, and this one is definitely one of my favorites. Lastly, it is time to place in the deep slate roof and of course the chimney there on the edge of the house. And I have this building done, but I want to create a dock around the back here because it's a fishing house, and I think it just makes a ton of sense. So I'm going to start by placing some trapdoors, and I'm going to go up very gradually here, and it'll loop around the edge of the house. So I'm going to continue going around with some slabs. And now with a little platform in, I want to create a little pillar right here along the edge, and then I'll create another one right here as well, using a little bit of oak wood and some stripped spruce, and then I want to put some slabs on top of these. And I have that same idea using the oak signs, but I'm going to curve them and then place trapdoors on top of them, and it creates that same effect but on an angle, and it looks so cool because you can create angled fences, and I think this is a perfect space to utilize that concept. I have now wrapped the dock around the entire build, and I want to continue it by adding a small section here where a little boat can sit. So I went into a creative world and came up with a little boat design that I really liked, and believe it or not, this is the first boat that I've ever made. Yeah, I really like this design that I came up with. I think it looks so cool. This is the first boat that I've ever made in Minecraft, but these people need a door, so I'm going to give them one. And I'm loving the mix of the mangrove roots and the dark oak fences. I think something like that looks pretty nice under here, and I can continue it over here as well. And this will kind of blend in the water with the deck and not make it look super empty down here. But something else I can do is add in some firefly bushes here, and they will actually give off particles because there's no sunlight, I think. Can come through here and add a little bit more detail later, but I think this is going to look so cool at night. To fill in the space, I gave myself a break from the custom oak trees and put a birch tree there instead, but I put in 2 more along the river edge on the other side. And to continue the terraforming, I extended a path from the bridge all the way around the lumber mill to the side entrances. I put a little tree in using some spruce fences and acacia leaves and started working on a different style of pine tree using full tough blocks and slabs that I really like. So now after that decoration, we've put this build into the environment and it looks really, really good. But I love terraforming, so I am not done, as I'm heading out to the valley that has needed some terraforming love ever since I booted up this world, and after a good 30 minutes of terraforming, I'd say it is looking way better. And I have 3 houses planned for right here, and I'm going to get started on the first one, and the materials I need will be in these shulker boxes. For the base, I need some tuff, pale moss, cobblestone, deep slate, andesite, and acacia. So I'm going to start with the tuff for the base, also using that side of the deep slate texture, working in some pale moss. All of this is for the dark shadowy tones, and then I'm going to work in with the cobblestone and andesite on the edge here. And now I have this idea laid out for the foundation of the build, and for the second layer here, I'm going to grab some oak, mangrove, stripped spruce, and I want to use some dripstone, light gray terracotta, and brown mushroom blocks. I also forgot I need some packed mud as well. And if you use these 3 blocks, it creates a pretty cool gradient because the dripstone pretty much utilizes all 3 of these colors in that single block. So if you use them all together, they just fit really well together. So I'm going to go up with 4 oak logs here in the corner. I'm going to use dripstone for the main base layer, creating some more pillars. And then I want to add a space here for a window using the scaffolding with the trapdoors on the top and bottom. And then I'm going to use that light gray terracotta with a bit more packed mud here. And I want to add a space for another window, but I can go in here and add some more of that scaffolding. So for the base layer of the house, that gives us something like this, but of course I want to add another spruce trim here. And I was thinking about using a mix of mangrove, spruce trapdoors, spruce logs, the stripped version, and some more mangrove here, which I think works super well with the colors that we already have in this build. I was also thinking for these windows, I wanted, instead of using just the one shutter, to use both, but this one I want to leave open. And then I can add even more signs, of course, right there. It's just time to put in another deep slate roof and, of course, a chimney on the back of the house, and giving the build a little bit more shape with a tiny section that juts out. And now it's time to get started on yet another building for this region. But for this one, I want to alternate with the oak logs and some of the lighter texturing using some birch here at the bottom. And then I'm going to slowly go up into some oak wood. And then I'm going to leave some space here in the middle for some windows, again, just using some scaffolding. And I want to continue using the oak and birch around the build, occasionally adding in those scaffolding windows, where all I have to do now is add in a roof, using the warm tones this time for some variety. I want to build another house here that is very similar to the one I just made, this time using a darker roof instead. And now with that done, we have extended this region by a lot. But I am not done, because I want to add a windmill here at the top of this little cliff that I made. I have experimented a lot with build ideas this episode, as I built up my first water wheel, my first boat, and my first windmill. If you're wondering why I'm really not that experienced as a builder, maybe I've developed some skills for building in this game, but the builds you're looking at in my episodes are really some of the few that I've made in this game over the last few years. But I'd love to go through some of my old worlds someday and showcase my build progression, because I think it's developed pretty quickly. But if you're looking to get better at building in Minecraft, because people are always asking me, I'd say you just have to build more and look to get better. I've recently became obsessed with trying to get better at building, getting out of my comfort zone with certain builds, and really pushing myself with the shapes and textures and everything I can. I'm not trying to be the best builder, I don't think I am or ever will be, but I am just trying to build the best that I can, because I think seeing my build progression over time in this world will be so cool in the end. And this is the first windmill I've ever built or even attempted, and even though it was a challenge, I am really happy with the design that I came up with. Now with the building and the tower in, I actually want to add in the windmill, of course, because there's no point of making this without the actual windmill. And for this, I'm going to need a ton of scaffolding, pale oak trapdoors, even more trapdoors, spruce fences and fence gates, and that's about it. But I'm going to need to craft up a ton more spruce trapdoors, and I'm hoping that 57 oak trapdoors is also enough. And now for this windmill here, I want to start using some spruce trapdoors here at the bottom, because I want to put scaffolding on top of them, and the trapdoors allow me to do that. And I want to go up 4 blocks. And then I just want to put some pale oak behind them. So now we have a texture like that for the windmill. And I want to see if it's possible here to actually have it floating. So we can go up another 3 blocks here, like that, and have the windmill look like it's a little curved here, like it's moving. Originally, I kept it just straight up and down, but my friend told me to do this, and I think it looks so much better. So it's going to be moving just a little bit here. Except actually to make it more seamless, I can remove that trapdoor. Perfect. And I want some spruce trapdoors at the top here as well. And then I want to go down with some spruce trapdoors just to give the windmill a frame so it doesn't look like scaffolding on the edge, which I think would look really dumb. I want to use oak trapdoors to continue the windmill look, but I want to use some spruce fences here on the side if I can, and I can. That's perfect. Can place them right here with some open oak trapdoors, and it connects, which is really nice. And if I just work around with some scaffolding, I should be able to just continue this going all the way down. I'm going to go in free cam to show you guys. I added in this fence right here as well. It doesn't connect, but from a distance, it just looks like it's a part of the windmill still. Now it's time to connect every single blade here in the middle. First, I need one more chain, and then I need to build this out, I think, up to here. I want to use grindstones facing around that will connect to the blades. And for my first time building a windmill in this game, I think that's a really, really cool design. And I really like the movement that it gives off with that slight angle. And I just think it looks so cool. And I eventually want to add in a bunch of windmills, I think, around this area. Now, there's been so many buildings added in this episode, and still this place feels super, super empty. And I want to make a little custom forest here. Yeah, I want to put a custom forest inside this already build heavy video. I want to put an entire custom forest here. There's also a ton of custom trees I need to sprinkle around this area. So it's going to be material gathering time once again to get some stuff for some custom trees. And it feels like I've spent half this episode collecting spruce wood. So here we are again, going over to the mega spruce biome. I began clearing out more forest because I am a terrible person, or Wombaat. You'll never really know until I do a face reveal, which is at 100,000 subs. Anyways, I built up so many custom trees, and this took me all morning and half of my day. Each tree takes about 45 minutes to make in a creative world, so I can plan them out in advance, and it also takes a good 45 minutes to build them in the actual world. So the process of making a custom forest is extremely boring and time-consuming and mind-numbing. So I am extremely burnt out on this part of the world because of it. I was building this custom tree here. I'm almost done. I think this is the last one in this section of the forest. And I fell into a hole right here. I made a creeper upset. I'm just going to go into free cam and show you what I saw. Oh my god, I flew out of here so fast. I saw 28 skeletons staring at me. This is a real problem, and I don't know what to do about it. I think maybe just unleashing 200 iron golems down here. I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a death trap. Just going to continue building this tree here, though, and forget that it ever happened. You know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm done building trees this episode. It is absolutely melting my brain. I don't know if I can continue building trees. It is seriously such a boring thing to build in the game that it's really upsetting me, and it's honestly, I think I'm depressed now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw out all the junk I don't need, and I'm just going to grab stuff to decorate the forest floor here because it's looking a little boring. I first want to make some patches of rooted dirt here for the floor. Nothing too crazy, just something to get your eyes away from all of the green that is over here. So right there, we just have a few patches. I think that's a good place to start. It's honestly kind of crazy how much of a difference bone meal makes in an area. This area was looking so boring, and now it just looks like a forest. But honestly, just mixing in these little dead patches in a forest, I think, goes a long way. One thing I do want to do now that there is bone meal is add a bunch of the leaf litter, and this stuff does not really last very long. Kind of create some shapes in here so it doesn't look completely random, something like that. But that right there is like a stack. You need so much of this stuff to cover a small area, but it does so much for the immersion of a forest. I do like these flowers. I'm gonna put some of these in here. I kind of like the way that might look in here. And actually, while I'm in here, because these flowers all have the same looking color, even have some of them going into the road a little bit. And yeah, that looks pretty nice. I like that. Okay, that looks a lot better. Oh my god, dude, are you kidding me? But honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm so burnt out on this video. Making trees I'm actually about to fall asleep. It's so exhausting. It's so tiring that I honestly don't know if I have the motivation to build anymore in this episode. I'm just actually exhausted. What's up, fella? But we've done so much. I mean, the area was just this small section here. There wasn't even these fields, and now we've expanded all the way over here. And I really like the progress that I've made in this episode, but honestly, I don't know how much I can do right now. I am just so burnt out right now on this section of the world. So I think this, honestly, I think this is going to be the end of the video. I've never felt this way about a project so far in this world, where I just want to like get away from it. But I kind of feel that over here. Not too much like motivation or inspiration for this area in the world right now. And I think that's okay. I can revisit a lot of this in a later episode, but I still love what we're working with here. I added in some detail here in this house, and I really like this potato field right here. It'd honestly be cool if you can lock these into these random stages like this, because it just looks so much better on the eyes. Maybe like off camera I'll go through and add some more, but I am just so done. I want to get away. But if I take like a fly through here, I do want the forest to have a similar vibe to this, where it's super detailed. Really, all there is left to do in this episode is take a little splash and go fishing. I don't know why I said that. And honestly, I don't know where my fishing rod is. I think it's in my shulker box. Oh my god, this is the first time I'm like traveling through here. This looks sick. Oh my god, it feels so cool. And honestly, this is a good place to catch a fish. It's a good place to catch a book. I mean, not a fish. I don't care about the fish. Okay, I caught the book. It is Sweeping Edge 3 and Fortune 3. I'm lucky I don't need those enchants. Those are pretty useless to me. The book is the Sweeping Edge Fortune 3 book. I'm going to go over here into the library and grab the book from last episode. If you want to name this book right here in my hand, Why is the Pig Going Insane Behind Me? Yeah, I'm talking about you, homie. You good? That's like actually adorable, dude. That whole interaction was great. This is the book from last episode. If you want to name this book, fill out the form in the description. Eventually, I'm going to get onto making a giant library. I don't know when that's going to be. I've talked about it every episode. I'm hoping it's soon. Episode 11's book is Schlimmer by Raphael. I think that's how you pronounce that. But for now, it's going to go into the tiny library right here next to the book from this episode. So again, name the book from this episode if you feel like it. Next episode might be a smaller project in this world, and then the episode after that, I think I have something pretty big planned for this world. But before I get out of here, I just got fired from my day job, and I think YouTube is just going to be my full-time job right now. So thank you for the support on this new post after I told you guys that. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to do more content for you guys, live stream more, do everything more. This is honestly a dream come true if I can make this work. So thank you guys for the support, and like and subscribe if you want me to succeed, or else I'll just be making burgers at McDonald's or something like that. No, I'm just joking. Thank you.